And we are starting with some breaking news coming in. Taliban takeover is now complete. There are videos that are now emerging showing tanks with Taliban, tanks, armored vehicles with Taliban, and videos showing hundreds of tanks in open field. Tanks, armored vehicles are also now under Taliban control. Let me go across to my colleague Sanika, who's also joining us live from the Afghan desk. Yes, Sanika, over to you. Please share more on these visuals.
Yes, Richa. In fact, since morning we've been getting videos of how the Taliban takeover has been complete after the US has withdrawn its troops from Kabul, from Afghanistan, and this is the latest video that we have, which shows the complete takeover of US war chest by the Taliban. How US has in fact left all of its weapons and machinery for the Taliban to take over, though there was a US statement which said that they demilitarized most of their weapons and also their vehicles that they left behind in Kabul. Just to give a sense to our viewers of how many US equipment could have been possibly left behind in the entire of Afghanistan, there are as many as 22,174 Humvees that have been left behind for the Taliban. 8,000 trucks that are now available with the Taliban. There are 155 mine-proof vehicles of the United States of America Army that the Taliban can now use. There is 169 armored personnel carriers. There are 42,000 trucks and SUVs. There are over 64,000 machine guns, 176 artillery pieces, 126,295 pistols that were used by the US troops in Afghan military troops in Afghanistan that are now with Taliban right now. Though America claims that they have demilitarized it, they've left it in a state in which Taliban cannot use it anymore. Apart from this, we also had a lot of videos, Richa, in the past few days, which showed how Taliban has taken over Black Hawks of the American forces and other choppers as well. Now, there are as many as 33 Mi-17 choppers. There are 33 Black Hawks that are in Afghanistan right now, and as per certain reports, this is the second largest fleet of Black Hawks outside of the US that is now available with the Taliban. So these numbers just give you a sense of the kind of equipment that is now left with Taliban, and this video is one of those videos that we've accessed from Kabul, where there are tankers, where there are Humvees and other vehicles of the US forces that are now left at Taliban's disposal, Richard.
Right. All right, thank you, Sanika, for that. We're also joined by Air Commodore Prashant Dikshit on the phone line. Sir, your first reaction to these latest visuals that we have now accessed. The US war chest is now under Taliban control. What can we expect now that there has been a complete withdrawal of the American troops from Afghanistan?
Well, I sincerely hope that the Taliban take strong control of their own country. This arsenal and the tanks and the other things were bound to get into the hands of Taliban because the armed forces trained by the Americans, 300,000 strong, have capitulated. And this was definitely going to happen. But I sincerely hope that the Taliban understands the responsibility which has been thrust on their shoulders. Now, I have heard from your own channel a little while ago that some of the equipment left by the Americans has been made de-operational. Well, that could be rockets and things like that. But to do away with the large armada of tanks and the aircraft is a complex and a time-consuming process. If the Taliban are operating the Black Hawks, well, nothing great. They have got a small armada of Black Hawks, I think 15, 20, and these are not attack helicopters. These are normal helicopters meant to carry personnel from A to B. Maybe there was an equipment of Black Hawks are supposed to be attack helicopters. But if the equipment has been made de-operational, then I'm afraid the Taliban can't use it. The Taliban perhaps can use this kind of a system for the other radical groups which are creating problems for them. For example, the ISIS-K. And maybe the other groups which may come from north. But that does not bode well for Afghanistan. I think Taliban ought to take control of their own country and bring sanity and a semblance of order. That is the first call of the day. And I think they should invite the world community by demonstrating a sense of purpose and a balanced approach to state management. Please go ahead.
In fact, Air Commodore Prashant Dikshit, another question to you. And as we saw, and we have been getting these visuals from this morning as well, post the complete withdrawal of troops by the Americans from the airport as well, the Taliban has completely taken over the Kabul International Airport. And they are also calling America's defeat as a lesson for the world. And in a way, also trying to mock US. All right, we'll try to go back to Air Commodore Prashant as well, the Dikshit, who has been joining us on the broadcast. But these are the latest visuals on our screen right now that you have access to of the U.S. war chest, which is now with the Taliban terrorists. And we have been receiving several such visuals after the America's longest war and closing a chapter in the military history that has been witnessed in Afghanistan after the withdrawal of the troops from Afghanistan, and specifically talking about the Kabul International Airport. And these are the latest visuals that we have now accessed here on Republic of the Taliban takeover. This is a video that has now emerged showing how there have been tanks with the Taliban, there have been armed vehicles under Taliban, and also video showing hundreds of these tanks in open field. And these are all armed vehicles and tanks that are now under the Taliban control. So clearly, we have seen several such statements also coming in from the Taliban, and who have now in a way, taken complete control of the Kabul International Airport. They are calling it America's defeat and also a lesson to the world. Meanwhile, we have seen as to how the Taliban has taken over the Kabul International Airport. This after the U.S. withdraws its forces from the Afghanistan, bringing an end to the 20-year-long US-led intervention and the battle that was still on. And these are the latest visuals showing once again hundreds and hundreds of tanks that are still out in the open. In fact, we have another reaction coming in as far as this latest takeover of the Taliban is concerned, now that the American troops have withdrawn completely.
Of our withdrawal from Afghanistan and the end of the military mission to evacuate American citizens, third country nationals, and vulnerable Afghans. The last C-17 lifted off from Hamid Karzai International Airport on August 30th, this afternoon, at 3:29 p.m. East Coast time. And the last manned aircraft is now clearing the airspace above Afghanistan. We will soon release a photo of the last C-17 departing Afghanistan with Major General Chris Donahue and the U.S. Ambassador to Afghanistan, Ross Wilson, aboard. While the military evacuation is complete, the diplomatic mission to ensure additional U.S. citizens and eligible Afghans who want to leave continues. And I know that you have heard, and I know that you're going to hear more about that from the State Department shortly. Tonight's withdrawal signifies both the end of the military component of the evacuation, but also the end of the nearly 20-year mission that began in Afghanistan shortly after September 11th, 2001. It's a mission that brought Osama bin Laden to a just end, along with many of his al-Qaeda co-conspirators. And it was not a cheap mission. The cost was 2,461 U.S. service members and civilians killed, and more than 20,000 who were injured. Sadly, that includes 13 U.S. service members who were killed last week by an ISIS-K suicide bomber. We honor their sacrifice today as we remember their heroic accomplishments. No words from me could possibly capture the full measure of sacrifices and accomplishments of those who served, nor the emotions they're feeling at this moment. But I will say that I'm proud that both my son and I have been a part of it.